G'day and welcome back for more Space Engineer Survival. We've spent 2 episodes trying to build this mining ship, and I think we should be able to do all of the necessary upgrades to make this publishable on the workshop in this episode. And that means we're going to need to get an extra battery on it for those power outages we were getting with lifting and moving in 2 directions as well. We're also going to need to move these ejectors because I do not like them on the side, and I have an idea of how we can get them underneath. And the other thing we're going to need to do is paint it. And one final thing which I would have missed unless someone had told me, and a couple of people had very kindly mentioned this to me, I'd missed a couple of thrusters in the reverse thrust group. This one and this one. So let's click save and keep them as part of the group now. We can just confirm that they are part of our reverse thrust group. Yep, perfect. Alright, so that's fixed. I'm not quite sure what happened with the mouse pointer in this recording. It was actually showing up in the right location for me, so it's something I didn't notice that OBS was bizarrely shifting to the down and to the right, but I will make certain that it does not happen again next time. Let's get on to the modifications to this little ship. First up, let's start with the back end so that we can get that extra battery on board, because I'm going to need the battery on board to figure out whether I can do with the ejectors what I'm hoping to do. What I'm hoping to do is using the space created by removing excess thrusters from this, from this ship, I hope to put the ejectors underneath where they are. So right now, we've got so many thrusters that I think we've actually got more than we need. We don't need to have this many for the amount of cargo space we've got. So they're kind of just excess weight and cost. And instead of having the excess ones, we can get rid of them, hopefully, where they are, given where the cargo containers are. I'm hoping that up in here there will be a connection we can use to put the ejectors in the place of however many of these thrusters we can get rid of. But to figure out how many thrusters I can get rid of, I need to get the battery on here first. So I want to move these ones as well so that I can put the battery in line with the other 3. And I think what we'll end up doing is having 3 thrusters in a line across the middle here, sticking out from behind the battery. And with our thrusters down here, I don't think that'll look so good. So we'll move these bottom ones up where those lights were, to there and there. And this all sounds probably really hard to imagine, but once I actually put these parts in, it'll all make sense, I hope. And rotate that around the same way as the other ones. We can then place one of them up here, maybe like that. So they're a bit staggered, those 3 across the top. Then we'll have 3 across the middle and those 2 down the bottom. And that'll give us back to the 8 that we've currently got. So to get our thrusters on here, let's do this. We need to be able to attach them to something. So we'll need to have some armor blocks like that. Then we can go with our line of 3 across the middle. Give them a bit of support from the sides so they're not just sticking out. And instead of having the middle piece come out as far, let's do that so that those 2 lines on top that we've created all the way from the front can continue right the way through to the back, standing out a bit more from what's around them. Underneath, that is not what I wanted to do. Underneath we can have a row of 3 like that, 3 like that, and that will do for now. We'll see what we might want to add to that later, if it doesn't quite work out once we've got the battery built. So I'll weld up these bits and pieces. I think I'll be reasonably happy with that in terms of shaping for now. And then we can look at how we're going to do those ejectors. But I need to get that battery welded up. So we'll grab the pieces for the battery, then we'll do that bit. Yeah, that's probably a better plan. Let's do that first. Alright, battery's finished. What I was talking about before with the battery output was, if we go down to our miner's batteries, you can see our max output is 4.3 megawatts. So what that means is the battery can only dump its stored charge at a maximum rate of that quickly. And unfortunately, all of our lovely lifting thrusters were drawing faster than 3 batteries were able to dump. So let's see whether that's still true of 4. So I've got balanced thrusters left and right, and I've got balanced thrusters forward and backwards. So if I move upwards, forwards and leftwards, that should be my maximum potential power output. And I don't know why I just saw sparks fly from somewhere. That was very strange. So upwards, leftwards, and forwards we go. And that takes us to 100%. You can see it maxes everything out. So in order to find out how many lifting thrusters we can actually power, let's turn off 6 of them to begin with. Toggle blocks off. And if we go upward, oh, 94. Okay. How about if we go with turning 2 of them back on? Alright, we're back at 100. So that was possibly too much. Let's turn 1 off and see where it sits in between those two. So we had 94, 97 and 100. That means each one's using up about 3% of what I can output. So I think we can reasonably get rid of 4 of them. Probably don't need to get rid of 6. And we will still keep our maximum lifting thrust if our batteries are all charged and able to be used. So I'm going to get rid of 4 of them and see what room that gives us in terms of moving those ejectors.
It's important to have this balanced because if I don't, when I've got a heavily loaded up ship, it may be able to hover when it's only powering the lifting thrusters, but as soon as I try and activate the forward or the sideways ones, what's going to happen is the ships are going to drop. And I want to avoid that, so that's why we need to figure out this balance here.
Alright, so 4 thrusters we can get rid of. Let's get rid of the ones closest to the connector. Alright, so what we've got access to now seems to be a cargo tube, which is perfect. That's exactly what we need. So, what we can do is grind out that small conveyor tube, grab one of the junctions, put it there, and we've got 3 blocks high. And if we want to get 2 ejectors in, we can probably do 1, 2. So if we do a row of 3 of these along there, we then should be able to, on top of them, fit a sorter and an ejector coming out. I don't think I'll be able to put one here as I'm a bit nervous about putting it so close to the connector, but we'll at least be able to get 4 on here, which is better than what we've currently got, and hopefully make it a bit more efficient for us to fly around while we're mining, since we'll dump our stone faster and and therefore have to use less of our lift to keep up stone that we keep mining, which is wasteful. So let's place in our sorters like this, making sure that the arrows are facing the way we want. And then straight onto these 2 sorters, we can put our ejectors. And that will be everything done. And that's our ejectors done. So we'll have 4 like this. And I suspect this armor might be a bit susceptible to damage. So let's try doing a look a little like this. So if we make these ramps instead, and make sure I re-weld the things that I accidentally ground down. If we go with 2 ramps like that and 2 inverted corners like this, that will give us clearance around the ejectors. And I think that thruster is going to be safe because I don't think it has a collision box around the actual nacelle. So hopefully that will, around its little shroud I meant. So hopefully that won't be an issue with the rocks that will tumble from there. And finally, let's pop a block in there. That will give us a bit of a clearance and hide these ejectors much more nicely. Let's grind down these ones as well and do the same thing. Ta-da! No more pimples! Yay! Okay. Now, something else I did want to do to this side, which I think will help a lot, making it look a little less chubby, which is I want to move these skids in a row. So we'll go with a block there, 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 there. There. Oh, I ran out of hydrogen. Well, that's annoying. And there. So if we move these skids in a row, they'll hopefully become a little more subtle from the outside, which I think will make them look better. Alright, so if we compare this side to this one, I think you can see what I'm getting at with the skids. They do... Oh, what am I doing? Jeez. Gotta stop doing those things. Stitch these, I don't need them. Oh wait, why do I have all those motors on me? Oh right, I ground down a bunch of thrusters that I'm not using anymore. Let's get rid of those. Get a bit of inventory space so I can do some remodeling. So you can see how moving the skids in a little bit has made them a bit more subtle and therefore made them fit in with the shape of the ship a little bit more nicely. It's often important to think about depth and color as well in terms of how it's going to affect depth. As I think the color scheme we're going to go for here is a yellow, grey and light grey bluish tinge. But I'll show you those in a moment. As I've been thinking about using a color scheme like this on the base as well, but I'm not sure it works so well for the base, but I think it works well for smaller ships like this. So, I was going to show another way of painting vessels like this. A way that I think is a pretty cool mod that also makes it easier to do. So we're going to go to production, we're going to go to tools, we're going to make a paint gun. This paint gun allows us to color things that we wouldn't be able to color without it. So let's make a bunch of paint chemicals so that we can do this. And they use gravel, so we've actually got a small purpose for gravel for when we're wanting to paint. Oh, I do not need 3,000 of these. 3, 4, let's wait for 500 and then I'll just stop this. That was way more than I needed. Okay. Let's grab our paint gun and our chemicals. Pop our paint gun on our hotbar. Now, this paint gun does something that you can't do with the normal painting tool. So if we have a look at using our normal painting tool and we go with, let's pick our yellow, which is going to be something around probably something around that mark, and don't want it so overly yellow, but I do want it relatively bright. Something maybe those sorts of colors will be alright. So if we select that, if I want to paint this row and the block in behind it, I can't get that cube at all. Anytime I click on here, that's going to paint the thruster, that's going to paint the one above it. I can't get at it. But with the paint gun, I can. So I think I've got it highlighted now. Nope. I appear to have painted the programmable block underneath. There we go. That has painted that block there. And I can't get this one either without the paint gun. Oh, there we go. So while you can accidentally paint stuff on the inside that you might not want to, it is incredibly handy being able to get at blocks that you otherwise couldn't. And I think I've just seen something else I want to reshape, which is... I think I want to do... Oops. I want to do this. If we grab that way, I think I want the ramps to go this way. Yeah, let's do that. So I'll fix that on this side. So I don't like this flat line across here. And since the road just there is going to be yellow anyway, it's going to stand out, so it can be different in shape. If we pop those back in there as well. There we go. So I'm going to use the paint gun to paint most of this ship, since one, it's kind of a cool mod that you can actually have painting take resources and that side of thing, but mainly because it allows you to paint stuff you couldn't do without removing blocks, replacing them, removing another bit, replacing it. It is actually a heaps easier way of painting a ship, which is incredibly cool. Why not? Paint that. Paint that. Go for this row down the middle here. Oh, I think I just painted a battery. And you can see just above my HUD, above where the gravity indicator is, I can change my color there, and the top of the paint tin changes as I do that. So we can go to the red color, and just like before, we can press Shift P, but then you have to click to pick the color you're changing to. So you can see that it's displaying the color of the yellow there, then a different color for the gray here, and if I click, I then select that gray, and I can now repaint that battery that I did, and then go back, scroll wheel to our yellow, and spray away. So we've painted the top two bits yellow, and I'll continue that with yellow down underneath like I've started here. And one thing I should mention before I forget is who made this paint mod, and this one is done by Digi, and he's responsible for a few mods that I really love. A little something like this here as well. Let's use these tips. One there, and then go back to flat there and there. And also do the same thing here, using our half slabs in between. So that we've got a bit more whoop, wrong type. So we've got a bit more continuity across these areas. And it's a similar style to what we did on top of the ship as well, so it should all feel cohesive still. I don't like doing the tip to tip bit, because it just looks like it's a weird little tacked on piece. And do I like that like that? Yeah, I think I'll leave. No, looks a bit funny from underneath. It's fine from the back, but what I'm going to do here as well is pop in a full block there and a slope there. So with these edges the way they are, let's have a look. I think they look too... I don't know, it looks like it's sharp, or it looks like something's missing more than something's been deliberately designed that way. So what I'm going to do, instead of having these slopes like this, one of these there, and one of these there. Do the same on this piece. And on this piece. Then have one of the half slab slopes. Oh, that way. And that way. And run out of hydrogen again. Let's weld these on, and we'll finish this design before I go grab more hydrogen. So if I do those slopes like that, they'll be a bit more subtle underneath. But then also what I think we'll do is, using the grey down the middle, grab one, let's grab the colour, correct colour first, Let's grab the bigger slope there. Then go to our half slab. There. There. And then go to our tip. Like that. Maybe. Yeah, so if we look at this from a bit further back, you don't see those edges running through, which I think looked a bit funny. And we could possibly play around with these 2x1 slope edges sort of things and make some of the other designs a bit more refined. But I think if I do that too much, it'll stop looking like an industrial vessel and start looking more sleek than I really want it to look at the moment. Let's grab some more hydrogen and let's finish off our painting job. So we've got a yellow running down around and underneath, and I think what we'll do as well is get some yellow in on these bits. Small conveyor tube, paint that, and where's the light? Nope, not the thruster. There we go. Paint those in between the drills. These thrusters, let's make them yellow so they continue that line, and we can get the block in behind them. Get this one, and the block in behind it. Nope. That's small conveyor tube, that's light armor block. There we go. So that continues that yellow line into the ship. And the last yellow line I want is this one that goes around the outside. Continue that all the way down the side. Except, I think this might look better. To make these kind of look more like clamps onto the large thrusters, we'll leave those a different color and just have the yellow be broken up by them. And don't think I want to paint that yellow. I think that'll be too much yellow around the back. So we'll do the same idea there. And then paint this all the way down the side. I know I could be using the standard paint tool, but I'm kind of enjoying this spray painting. And there we go. Last thing is let's paint the skids yellow. I know I was trying to make them hidden before, but I kind of feel like there's yellow missing from the sides on here, and I think the skids are the best part to paint. But I have a further idea to make them a bit more hidden. So there we go. I think that's probably all the yellow we really want to add to this. I don't really want to do more color, but what I will do is realize that I'm a dope and I should have done something differently right from the beginning, because I wanted to change this grey to a different color. I wanted to make this lighter. Oh. What I want to do is get a little hint of blue in a whitish or a very light grey. So if we go somewhere around, maybe towards the lighter end of the mid blue? Yeah. What's that sort of blue? Yeah, that sort of blue. And if we make the saturation maybe really low, like a -80, but then we want to make it really light. So we do that. And what I would normally have done here, and which I think I will have to do because it's going to be quicker anyway, is press Control, Shift, middle mouse to give it that kind of white, but there's just that hint of blue, and I think the yellow will set off really nicely against that. So we'll jump ahead to when I've finished redoing all of that yellow. Okay, that's finally fixed. I really should have thought that through before I did it, but anyway. So I prefer this lighter color with the yellow, but in order to balance it and create even more depth in the design, I want to add a third color, and that third color is going to be, if we go and so that we've got it on our bar, let's pick this, let's go Shift P again. Oh, that's annoying. So 222, saturation -80, and make our value a bit darker. Maybe something like a -20? Something about there. And now we can add a third color to this, which will add a bit more detail and a bit more depth. And I would like to first start by trying it here. Grab these bits. Yeah, I think I like it there. And the other parts I want to do are these ramps on the side here. Being a darker color, they'll kind of recede a bit, but still add to our feeling of depth in the build. So now if we look at it from the side, I think the profile looks better than it did before, but maybe we could do this. Kind of hide part of this yellow with some half ramps. If I had enough steel plate. Oh, I've covered those up now. Can I get into it? Yeah. Come on. Come on. There we go. Let's grab some more steel plate. And pop it in there. How does that look from a distance? Yeah, I think that looks alright. Could probably even do this. Add a tiny bit of detail in there. Like that. Yeah, I kind of like that. I will keep that, and I will match it on the other side as well. I like adding little extra bits like this once I've got the color down, because I feel like up until that point, I'm usually working on broader shapes, and so I might move things, and if I add too many details, there's lots of stuff that I have to move later, which is a pain in the bottom. Oh, I've missed a block. I have missed a block. Let's grab that in there. And I think I'm willing to call this complete. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go fix up the cockpit remaining bits that we want to do. The first one is going to our... Where is it? Where are you? Programmable block. This one is going to have, if we browse our workshop, we're going to select Izzy's battery recharge helper. I think that's the one. Those are my two Izzy scripts. Yes, it's that one. Alright. Okay, Izzy's battery recharge helper. Now, what does this want me to do? Manage batteries. By default, all batteries on the same grid are monitored by the script. If you want to monitor specific ones, group them together and put the group name here. Leave blank to monitor all. I think this should be fine by default. Let's check our code. Okay. Remember and exit. Okay. So it's got a number of batteries 4, batteries recharging 1, batteries full 2, batteries as backup 1. Now, what happens when we disconnect our ship? Let's have a look at what that programmable block says now. Not connected, number of batteries, battery set to in/out. I think that's... yeah, that's all 4. Ready for output? Perfect. I am happy with that, because that means we don't need that battery recharge bit on our hotbar, because as soon as I park, if we again go to that programmable block, it'll set them up automatically. Perfect. Alright, let's rename this to Izzy's recharge helper, so that I know which one it is. I haven't decided what script to use for the second programmable block, but when I eventually do, I'm sure I will show you. The other thing I want to do with this ship is let's unpark it. Let's go to our hotbar. Since we don't need this anymore, let's remove it. And... oh, we got to fix up our ejectors because we got new ejectors. That's right. So let's set up our sorters. And all we need to do is go whitelist and stone add whitelist. Do this with all 4 of them. It would have been nice if we could have arranged the ejectors in such a way that we only needed 2 sorters, but it wasn't going to fit in any nice way if we ended up doing that. So I've stuck with what we've currently got. Now, we don't need to see these in our terminal now that they're set up. So let's turn them off. Show blocking terminal off. Next up, we don't need to show any of our thrusters in the terminal either. And this is something a few people mentioned to me as well that I should probably be more mindful of. And what the? Shouldn't those be included in my thrusters group? What's in my thrusters group? Is anything in my thrusters group? Thrusters. Oh, right, because I moved all the forward thrusters. Got to get them back in the group. Save. Now show blocking terminal. Off. Turn off our hidden blocks so that we don't need to see them. And we get this nice little output in our menu here, which is really handy from the script. That it shows us what exact values our batteries have. So I'll leave them showing up. I'll rename this one, since it should be named in the same way as the other. So we've got a much neater control panel now, and that's something I've always been bad at doing, but I'm trying to be better. Let's do a different naming system for this. Let's do star. And this is where I want to reveal my new idea for a name for this ship. A couple of people suggested some pretty cool animal names. I did like some of the bulldog ones because it does have a bit of a shoulder, and I liked a lot of the bird names that were suggested. But I'm going to go on a slightly different theme, and it's because of the yellow color that I like the idea of this one, and the fact that this ship, even with my efforts to try and make it look a little less so, still looks like a little chubster. So I am going to call this the Butterball, because apparently that's what some sorts of turkeys are called. So it still fits with the bird thing, and that means we need to rename this to the Butterball. There we go. Because there's nothing quite like an irreverent name for your favourite chef. And I'm actually pretty happy with this design. And I was about to rename this and I totally forgot to. So we're going to call this star space Butterball remote. And that'll put it at the top of the list, and we will delete this. We have a neat control panel, which is the first time I think I've ever done that. We've got our name set up. We need to land so that we can get everything recharging. Puck. And I am pretty happy with that. I will create the blueprint once we've got daylight, because I want to take a really cool screenshot of it so that we can see what it actually looks like. And I will have this uploaded on the workshop as soon as I possibly can, and hopefully even at the time that this episode comes out, so that you guys can play around with this and edit it to your heart's content. One mining ship, ready to go, painted, armored, cockpit set up. It's even got a programmable block set up with Izzy's cool script on it. That will save me a lot of troubles with the battery, so they'll always recharge properly. I am really happy with this. I'm sure there's a few things over time that I might want to change with it, but for now, it has got to be a pretty effective mining ship compared to what I've been working with. So for the rest of the night, what I think I should probably do, so that we can have a look at it in the daytime soon, what I might do with the rest of the night is try and get a bunch of this stuff welded up in here. maybe make it so that we can get a better idea of how this room actually looks with all of the armor welded up. It's getting closer to dawn, so we're almost ready to take out the butterball and see what we can do in terms of getting a cool screenshot with it. But before that happens, I want to do a quick remodeling here. And I want to move the bunk beds right out of here. And you might see that I've painted this floor. I'm not sure I'm happy with that, but I want to do something along the ideas of this. So something that creates pathways that flow to each room and go through the base. And I'll probably do this in a slightly different way, but that was just to give people an idea of what I was thinking along those lines in terms of making those hallways a bit more interesting along the floors. What I want to do with this space in here is get the fridge and maybe that one, and pop a fridge in here like this. Then we can grab our tables and chairs and put a few of these in around here as well. So there we go. We've got chairs now, we've got a fridge, so we've got a little eating area at the front with the nice view out through these windows. Even though the windows are filthy, we really should get a cleaner. These chairs would be a really lovely space to have a meal for anyone that works in this facility, and I'm going to make this facility look like there's more than just me here, because I think it's more interesting that way. Let's hop outside and get ready to take some screenshots. While I'm waiting for sunrise to fully start, let's go and see what I managed to weld up during the night. And I got this corridor all welded up, though I'm going to have to do something about this very bland ceiling. But more importantly, this is mostly welded up. So I'll have to do something with that wall, but I'm really happy with how the roof has turned out. Once we weld in those lights and I don't need to walk around with my headlights on everywhere, the base will look a bit cooler. Got some of the back wall and this wall over here done. And there is a problem with doing the ground that way. Don't like that at all. Maybe we can just do it up to the doorways and not do the actual doorways. That could work better. But anyway, that's what got welded up during the night. Let's get ready to go mine some more iron, as I'm pretty sure I used up nearly all of it. Turn off the headlights, turn off the HUD with tab. I can grab a screenshot here. Yeah. Now, if we unpark, move up, hop out, and what we're going to do quickly is Control B, create our blueprint, which should be under Butterball now. Yep, perfect. Not too worried about the screenshot angle on that, because we're going to be able to replace that with a proper one. Same way I put the screenshot in for the mod. Now, the next thing we want to do is... I had something I wanted to do, and I've forgotten it. No! Ah, that's right. Of course. The projector has the wrong projection on it. So we need to turn you on. We need to go to Blueprints, go to Butterball, select it, OK. And now the projector should say 398 perfectly. Alright, turn that off. Do we have a projector on our hopper? No, let's add that. Why not? Toggle block on and off. There we go. For these sorts of things, I much prefer getting my screenshots set up using the spectator cam, since just using the rotate means you're always in the center of the screen. Let's get a better backdrop than the grey. Let's go way up. This is probably wasteful on my power, but I think it's worth it to get a good shot. Let's grab my spectator again. And there we go. That looks better. We'll print that. And then we'll get one from each angle around the ship. Alright, let's go mine. That's enough pretty shots. Oh, and there we go. Now the dipping forward actually works. Because I've got all of the thrusters selected with the group. It's a good idea when you're drilling with a miner like this to clear out the space underneath, especially with the ejectors placed on the bottom. I don't want any of those rocks being forced to generate inside the ship. So if we clear out all of this rock underneath the deposit so that we can still approach from a directly horizontal path, we'll avoid all of that problem. At least for a little while, and then we can keep doing that each time we get a bit further into the deposit. So you can see now there's plenty of space underneath for the new stone that I drill out to get ejected out the bottom without bouncing up into the ship. It also makes it easier to keep yourself level because the camera angle remains clear where you can see your artificial horizon. And this little ship, if my calculations are right, should be able to fly with upwards of 100,000 kilograms of weight. So I'm going to push it to 105,000 and see how our inventory is looking at that point, as I think that's probably the last safe point we can go to. I think that's about the maximum we could push it to. Now, was I just scraping my roof? I think I was a bit. You can do the same with the roof area as well and clear that out so that you can get your ship in there more easily from above. And we're up to 102-ish thousand. Still spitting out a lot of rock though. There we go. Let's see how we're at. Inventory. We got our cockpit full. We got our drill. Well, our drills are more than half full if we look across the three of them and average them. Connectors shouldn't have had those bits in it. Whoops. All the cargoes are full. So I reckon that's pretty good. Let's head on out of here. Turn off our spotlights as we don't need them anymore. Got a very small amount of lift. Maybe 100,000 is where I should sit, because this is not going upwards very quickly. But if we turn off our reverse, should be able to coast forward. This is going to take some very careful flying at this weight. I think we'll probably in the future just stick to 100,000 kilograms, as it's a bit lower risk. I don't think the extra tiny bit of ore is worth the risk of losing the whole ship. Especially when I'm so happy with this little one. Uh-oh. What is going on? Why did you just sink? That was very strange. You've got enough power, and you can clearly rise. Why did you all of a sudden sink? Oh dear.
No, don't start sinking again. Oh, so I think this might have something to do with altitude and the fact that atmospheric thrusters become less powerful as you go higher up. I might be able to fly with this weight at sea level, but up at this altitude I seem to be losing power every now and then, which is not good. I might just be able to sort of hop it up onto the top. Come on.
Oh jeez, this is going to be high risk. High risk. Oh no, now I'm floating. No, I'm not. Let's see if I can get on the connector. No. Can I move? Come on, come on. Can I do this? Oh jeez. Need to go up. Come on. Come on. Come on, you fat bugger. You're a bit overweight, I know. Come on. Yes. Yes! Oh. Okay. Definitely not loading it up that heavy next time. That was too much. Whew. Alright. We need to turn off the lights so we don't use up the power for that. Well, made it home safely after mining more than I should have. And we've got a few things welded up and the ship is ready to go. So expect to see this on the workshop around the time that this episode is coming out. I've got all sorts of stuff planned, like building a truck for this, building some military equipment, and it's probably going to be the military equipment that I'm going to go for next. I've got a little bit of an idea of how I can build something that should protect me better than that cave idea. I realize that I might struggle to actually drive into the cave, but I'm still going to use it anyway. What I'm first going to do is build a few turrets in an interesting way that I want to show you when I actually do it. So there's that and plenty more to come, and I'll see you then.